Alright, so welcome back, guys. And it has been a while since I did my last deck profile. And I do mean a while. It was supposed to be before Christmas when I was going to get around to doing Photon Galaxies. But hey, since then, actually a lot of good stuff has happened. For one, Galaxy Summoner and Photon Emperor and Galaxy 100 and the Big Papa and the Little Papa, they have since come to the TCG in the Photon Hypernova Booster Pack. As well as Photon Orbital got reprinted, so he's like a lot cheaper now. So this deck is a little more viable if you wanted to build it and actually have fun with it, because not everything's as expensive. Like Afterglow Dragon, I think that came out in Magnificent Maven, so it got reduced in price. But the only thing that's still a little expensive if you didn't buy it way back in the day would be like the Galaxy Expedition. But everything else is very reasonable in terms of price. I'm looking. Maybe Neo Galaxy has Photon Dragon, but he's more like a collector's card, and he's not really necessary in this deck. But to get into the gist of why I made this deck, first of all, I love Kaito-sama from Yu-Gi-Oh! Zale, and I love the archetype of the Photon Galaxy monsters. There's a little bit of Photon, a little bit of Galaxy in this deck, but it all sort of revolves around this guy who is both a Galaxy and a Photon monster. And you're able to make really big beaters that can get over your opponent's monsters. And then you're also able to do a lot of protection as well. You've got your Photon Lord. Oh, I guess this he's fairly expensive. But being able to make your Photon Lord, your Cyber Dragon Infinity, and some of your other peeps, along with your Tachyon Transmigration, who I really like. That's the main reason why I actually have Tachyon Dragon in here, is because sometimes I want to activate this from my hand. And with this guy on the field, you can do exactly that. But let me go ahead and just run through the main deck first. So we've got the Afterglow Dragon. You absolutely want to run 3 of these. First of all, he's a trade-in target. Second of all, when you've got Photon Dragon on the field, and it's very easy to get this guy onto the field nowadays, he can special summon himself for free. And then the ability, you can read his effect basically there. I like to use him with Prime Photon Dragon. When you detach during the battle phase with Prime Photon Dragon to pump up his attack, this guy allows you to then double the attack further. So this guy already gets an attack boost based on the number of X-Seed monsters on the field. And then this guy allows you to double that X-Seed monster's attack even further. And then you get a free special summon of a Galaxy-sized Photon Dragon from your hand or deck. And by the way, that's mandatory. So you don't get the attack boost unless you're able to summon a Galaxy-sized Photon Dragon from your hand or deck. But that is like so incredible. That's the reason why this guy was so expensive for the longest time. But this guy is really good because he also counts as a Galaxy-sized monster. So if you needed to activate Tachyon Transmigration for whatever reason, and you need a Galaxy-sized monster on the field, he does count as a Galaxy-sized monster. And then we've got your Photon Dragon, obviously. This guy is pretty self-explanatory. He's like the OG from Photon Shockwave back in the day. I used to run 3 Galaxy Knights way back in the day, and he's absolutely not necessary to run 3 of anymore. He's good because you don't do too much normal summoning other than your Galaxy Summoner, and every now and then your Galaxy Wizard. So, to make sure that every turn I'm able to at least have the opportunity to normal summon, I like to run 1 Galaxy Knight. And you don't want to run too many of him because you don't always have a Photon Dragon in the grave to get his benefit. But you do need a Photon or Galaxy monster on the field in order to normal summon him without tributing. And so you don't always want to like top deck this guy. You usually want to draw into him later. So that's the reason why I like this guy at 1. He's another trade-in target just in case. I like to really trade in my Photon Dragons, and I'll get into that later once I hit this. But that's the reason why you see me with so many level 8s. Photon Emperor, you definitely want to trade this guy in. Look at his effect. If this card is sent to the graveyard, except for the field, while another Photon or Galaxy monster is on your field or in the grave, you can special summon him. So if you trade him in while you have another Photon or Galaxy monster on the field or in the grave, boom! You get a special summon him for free. And this guy's way better than that stupid. Remember that Photon... okay, maybe he was called... Okay, he was called Kaiser in the Japanese. But Caesar, this guy who basically duplicated himself in the anime, but that's not what he does in real life. This guy sucks! This guy's way easier. Like, Caesar was an emperor, but this emperor is way better. And he's obviously supposed to look very similar because that's where they got the inspiration from. This guy is really nice. You can special summon this card. Okay, you can only use this effective Photon Emperor once per turn. That makes sense because otherwise it'd be too broken. After you normal summon or special summon this card, you can normal summon an extra light monster for free. An extra normal summon. That's incredible. So if he hits the field because you had a Photon or Galaxy Monster in the grave, so now he's on the field. And then you've got, let's say it was a Photon Dragon that was in the grave. Now that he's on the field, you can extra normal summon, although technically you haven't even normal summoned yet. But you can put both Galaxy Knight and Galaxy Summoner on the field. That's 2 normal summons in 1 turn. That's like a huge amount of benefit, and I haven't even gotten to Galaxy Summoner yet. He is extra support, like being able to get extra resources as well, so he's extremely good. But this Photon Emperor is so nice because the very next card, Galaxy Brave. I used to run a couple in the deck, and now I only run 1 because, well, he's good, but he's not great. He requires you to reveal a Photon monster in your hand, and then he copies that level. So I thought it was a Galaxy or a Photon monster. That is not the case. Obviously, when I started playing and getting used to it, I was like, oh shit, he's not that great. So I only have 1 of him. But with being able to include Photon Emperor, he just got more viable. Because Photon Emperor, you want this guy to be a level 8. You don't really, back in the day, I had like Photon Vanisher and Photon Orbital, and I was copying that to make it a level 4. Especially before this guy existed, Galaxy Photon Dragon. Rank 4s, who cares? Like, I had, I think, Queen Dragon the Jin, who's generic rank 4. She was okay for back in the day, but definitely you want to have Galaxy Photon Dragon. And you would rather this guy become a level 8. So being able to copy the level of a Galaxy-sized Photon Dragon or a Photon Emperor, that's what you would like. So that way you can go into one of your rank 8s really easy, because he's a free special summon once you do that. And if this card is normal special summon, you can target one Galaxy Monster in your grave. This card's attack. Yeah, so he can copy the attack or defense of some shit in your grave. Rarely do you ever care about that unless you needed to sacrifice it to bring out something like a Galaxy-sized Soul Flare Dragon. I think I might have 1 game where I needed to do that. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've watched any of the matches that I recorded. But this guy is good at 1. That's where I would leave him. In the worst case scenario, I guess, try to trade him in. Galaxy Soldier. So when this guy got reprinted in, what was it, like Ghost from the Past, Second Haunting or some shit. So he got a lot cheaper because he used to be fairly expensive in the World Superstars because he's so good. Being able to ditch a light monster to then special summon himself, and then you can add another one of himself from the deck to the hand, so that way you can just replenish. That's very good because you would like to be able to put some shit in the grave. Let's say a Photon Emperor. And when he's put into the grave, actually, I'm not sure if it activates at the same time. Galaxy Soldier's on the field because it activates in reverse order. I'm not sure. But usually that's a very good deal, to be able to put the Photon Emperor in the grave for his effect, or to put a Galaxy-sized Photon Dragon. That's what I used to normally target, was being able to put this guy in the grave, special summon, and then you can bring out another one. This is the main guy, unless you want to also combine it with the Instant Fusion. They are going to be the ways that you bring out your Cyber Dragon Nova, so that way you can go into your Cyber Dragon Infinity. These are the only targets because they're the machines. And then you've got your Photon Vanisher. I used to run 2, and I decided that 1 is probably the best place to put it because he cannot be special summoned unless you have a Photon or a Galaxy monster on the field already. So a lot of times, because I only run 1 of him, I am able to easily special summon him. And then I think, let me see. You can if this card is special summon, you can add a Galaxy-sized Photon Dragon from your deck to your hand. So that's very good to be able to, like, again, replenish your hand. And then any monster that he destroys in battle can be banished. So that's pretty good. I rarely ever attack with him. I'm usually using him nowadays to go ahead and go for the rank 4. But he's very good because he can replenish your hand. He's very easy to special summon when you're only running 1 copy of this guy. He can be copied with Galaxy Brave's effect. Very rarely will I do that, but let's say that you did that. You special summon him, and you can special summon him, and then bada boom, bada bing. Because this guy will special summon himself once he copies him, and then he's on the field. Now that he's on the field, Photon Vanisher special summons himself to the field. Boom, there's your rank 4 right there. Then you've got your Galaxy Summoner. This guy's very good. If this card is normal or special summoned... Oh, shit, I forgot that if it's special summoned also. You can target one... Actually, I think this saved me in 1 game where I was playing against my friend. You can target 1 Photon or Galaxy monster in your grave except Galaxy Summoner. Special summon in defense position. And then you can target 1 other light monster you control, including the one that you just special summoned. It becomes level 4 until the end of the turn. You can only use each of the effect once per turn. So... he's like a free special summon, or like a monster reborn of one of your Galaxy or Photon monsters. So you can put him on the field and then, overlay with one of your other monsters that currently exist, or make it a level 4 and boom, go into your Galaxy Photon Dragon. This is the main way I'm going into my Galaxy Photon Dragon. Is I get this guy, I take one of my guys from the grave, and boom, overlay. Very good. And then Photon Orbital. Thankfully, when Photon Emperor, Galaxy Summoner, and Galaxy 100 all came out in Photon Hypernova, they were dirt cheap. I mean, like 20 cents each. Or even cheaper if you could get lucky. The Photon Orbital used to be fairly expensive because I know that ABCs like to use it a lot. But the Photon Orbital is very good in this deck because you run a ton of Photon or Galaxy monsters. So you just equip it, and then you send it to the grave, and then you bring out another guy. So that's good because you just put a Photon monster in the grave in case if you ever are needing to put Photon Emperor in the grave, and then he sees another Photon monster in the grave, and then he special summons himself. So that's an easy way to put Photon materials in the grave. And then plus you're just replenishing your hand, so it's like a one-for-one sort of deal. Whatever else, what other resource you may find more important to you. And then you've got Galaxy Wizard. He's OG. Way back in the day, I think this guy showed up in the anime. I'm not even sure anymore. It's been so long since I've watched Sail. But he's good because he can either make himself a level 8 on the field, or actually he can do both. He can make himself a level 8, then you can play like Galaxy Expedition, and then you can tribute him to add one Galaxy card from your deck to your hand. Now it says Galaxy card. So that could be a Galaxy Trance, which I'll get into later, Galaxy 100, which I'll get into later, Galaxy Expedition, which I'll get into later, or even, what is it, Galaxy Cyclone? I used to run this card in here because it was searchable with Galaxy Wizard's effect, but it's not really that viable anymore. It also had 2 effects, so if you want to consider it, obviously you can put it in here. It is a Galaxy card. But Galaxy Wizard, I'll only run 2 of them because if I'm going to be normal summoning, I'd prefer to go after something like a Galaxy Summoner or a Galaxy Knight. But Galaxy Wizard is still good because remember, a lot of times with your Photon Emperor's effect, you can get 2 normal summons in one turn. And then Instant Fusion is just to bring out the Panzer Dragon, so that way you can make your Cyber Dragon Nova. That's pretty well lit. Trade in, because you've got, what? This is 10 per row, so you've got 10, and then 11 targets. Right there. 11 targets for trade-in, which is very good. You really like to be able to put the Photon Dragon or the Photon Emperor or a Knight in the grave or a Brave in the grave if they're sitting useless in your hand. And then get 2 new cards. So this card works very well in this deck. I really like it at 3. Galaxy Expedition. This card is super good. Now, some people may debate that they would rather run 2 instead of 3. I like to run 3 because if I can't use it this turn, because I've already, let's say I have 2 of them in my hand. If I can't use both of them in one turn because that's its effect, I can guarantee you I can use it in the next turn, which I really like. So I take this guy, maybe I have a Galaxy Soldier on the field, and I need another Galaxy Soldier from my deck so that way I can immediately go into Cyber Dragon Nova. However you want to do it, it's very good, and you'll find ways to be able to make all of your combos so that way you can go for your big plays and then kill your opponent. You'll figure it out. Galaxy Expedition is one of those, it pretty well like plays itself. You can figure out what it is that you want to bring out for that particular situation. Galaxy Trance is the one that takes a little more skill and strategy to use. So you're basically paying 2,000 life points, and then you target 1 Photon monster in your grave, right? So that's where it is good to have the Photon Orbital or already have a Photon Dragon in the grave, because you need a Photon monster in the grave, and then you special summon both it and a Galaxy monster from your deck. So that's the reason why it's very specific. Pay attention, and they have to be the same level, and then they're both going to be in defense position. Obviously, you're not going to be like OT Kane with this thing. Each monster's attack becomes 2,000, which is good because then you can use it to make an easy Galaxy Eye Soul Flare Dragon. I almost never do that, though. I'm usually using it to then go into a rank monster of some sort. And then you can only activate 1 Galaxy Trance per turn. You cannot normal summon or special summon monsters during that turn except Photon and Galaxy monsters. Okay, well that doesn't really matter to me unless you've got the Instant Fusion and you're trying to go into Cyber Dragons. So that is the one thing I will say, is do pay attention, because I think that did mess me up one time. I tried to summon Cyber Dragon Nova and I could not, and I didn't know why. It's because of Galaxy Trance. You can only summon Galaxy and Photon monsters during that turn. Most of the time that will not mess you up because that's the majority of all your shit in here. But Galaxy Trance is very good. It just pays 2,000 life points because of the ability to reborn a monster and then special summon from your deck. So that's very good. But it does require you to strategize how you're going to, if you've got it in your hand, you need to strategize how you're going to put the Photon monster into your grave and what Galaxy monster you want to bring out, so that way you know what extra deck monster you're wanting to summon. So Galaxy 100, when I first read this effect when it first came out, it didn't seem that good to me. Like, you're basically, only one time do you get activated its first effect, which is, when this card is activated, you can send a Photon or Galaxy monster from your deck to the grave. Usually I'm going for a Photon Emperor so that way I can get a free special summon. Sometimes I go for something else. Almost never, though. I might put a Photon Dragon in the grave, but almost never am I doing that. And then, if a Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon is special summoned to your field, you can look... So that's at any point while it's, the continuous spell is on the field. When that happens, then you can look at your opponent's extra deck and banish a monster from it. I do that a lot, because they always have an extra deck, and I'm always special summoning Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon, just because that's the nature of this deck. The thing is, I don't see how that's really that good, unless they're only running one copy of a monster that is really important to them, in which case then you can fuck them over. But there are other decks, I think maybe Shadal's or something else, where you're able to go after multiple extra deck monsters, and that really fucks them up. But you can also, let me see, special summon one number monster from it to your field. Yeah, so if you choose a number monster, instead of banishing it, you can just special summon it to your field. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Alright, and then 2 Galaxy Zeros. I used to run 3 way back in the day. I found that because you can only activate 1 once per turn, running 2 is probably the optimal number. That's up for debate, but what I found to be most consistent is running 2 of them. It's basically a free special summon. I also like to be able to special summon either a Tachyon Dragon or Prime Photon Dragon from my grave, and then I can, using Galaxy Zero, and then I can just overlay the full armor Photon Dragon on top of it, and then Galaxy Zero did exactly what I needed it to. It got me a full armor Photon Dragon, which I can then detach the shit that was underneath of it, blow up something that was face up on the field, bada boom, bada bing, attack for 4,000. And then you've got Tachyon Transmigration. I love counter traps. People who know me know that I love field spells and I love counter traps. Those are my 2 most favorite cards in all the game. And then probably Synchro's right behind that. Well, technically Exodia right behind that. And then Synchro's. So, being able to use this effectively in your deck, man, the fact that it doesn't send it to the grave, it sends it back to the deck. When it negates and sends it back to the deck, that's incredible. Because then they can't just go Monster Reborn in it from the grave later on. Or whatever there might be a benefit of having it in the grave. No, that shit goes back to the deck. So, if it said, negate and destroy, so it sends it to the grave. Well, that wouldn't work on... I always use Red Eyes Dark Dragoon as my example. It doesn't do that with Dragoon. It sends him back to the extra deck instead. So that's really nice. And then the fact that it can be activated from the hand when you've got Tachyon Dragon on the field. Okay, running through these real quickly. Cypher Blade Dragon. I only use him to go on top of full armor Photon Dragon. So you've got your Prime Photon Dragon, right? You attacked, inflicted a lot of damage, then you overlay full armor Photon. Pop a monster that's face up on your opponent's side of the field. Then overlay Cypher Blade Dragon on top of that. Pop a card, any card, on the field, and so you get basically pop 2 cards on your opponent's side of the field. Neo Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon, I just like him because I like to say Ultimate the Photon Stream, because this guy in the anime was amazing. He had his effect when it came out, the Photon Howling, which negated all, I think, how does it read? All other face-up cards currently on the field have their effects negated. So that could be nice because it doesn't target, right, and doesn't destroy. And then he can just attack. He gets a benefit if your opponent has XC monsters on the field. But, yeah, I just have him in there for fan service. And then you've got your Prime Photon Dragon. This is the main guy that I will be going for, because when you summon him, he's really easy, generic level 8. When you summon him, you get to then, during the battle phase, detach a monster, one of your overlay materials, and then he gets to gain attack equal to, equal to the combined ranks of all Exceed monsters on the field times 200 during that damage calculation only. And then, if you have, so you have to do whichever one is not Photon Dragon underneath them. So back in the day, I used to do Galaxy Knight and Photon Dragon to make him. So you want to detach the Galaxy Knight, or maybe nowadays it's a Photon Emperor or Galaxy Eyes Afterglow Dragon. You want to detach anything that's not Photon Dragon. And that's because otherwise the amount of damage that he inflicts to the opponent is going to be cut in half. You don't want that. So, and then let me see if this card okay. If this card in its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card effect while it has Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon, that's another reason why you want to keep him under there for as long as possible. You can special summon this card during your second standby phase. This guy was actually used in the anime by Kaito while dueling on the motherfucking moon. And you can special summon this card during your second standby phase after activation and double its attack. So he just comes back to the field and sits there at 8,000, like, what you going to do about it? Now, he's only going to be able to inflict half damage because there's not a Photon Dragon underneath of him anymore. But still, that's pretty freaking good. And then, like I mentioned before, let's say that You had a Photon Dragon on the field. Afterglow special summons himself for free because of that. You take these two, you make the Prime Photon Dragon, you're attacking, you detach the Afterglow Dragon, so that way your attack is not cut in, or the damage that you inflict is not cut in half because you still have Photon Dragon underneath of him. And Afterglow Dragon's effect goes off, which this guy, let's say he was the only one on the field. So his attack goes up from 4,000 to 56 because he gains 1,600 attack due to the fact that he's a rank 8. So he's at 56. But Afterglow Dragon just doubled that. So now he's at 11,200 because of Afterglow Dragon's effect. Plus, Afterglow brings out another Photon Dragon from your hand or your deck. So you've got another one in addition to that. That's pretty freaking good. Good luck trying to withstand an 11,200 attack monster. And then you also have the new monster that just came out in Photon Hypernova. The number C62 Neo Galaxy Eyes Prime Photon Dragon. So you can also XE summon this card by using number 62. So it's just take this guy and overlay this guy on top of him. Then this card can make up to 3 attacks on monsters during this battle phase. If this card has Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon, it's unaffected by opponent's monster effects, and it gains attack equal to the combined levels, ranks of its attached materials. So that's a further boost. But again, if you activate Galaxy Eyes Afterglow Dragon's effect during the battle phase, this guy's attack will then get doubled. So you've also got your Hope Harbinger. I like this guy because sometimes I'll open up with him. I might open up with the Photon Lord. I think there's been a time where I opened up with the Photon Lord, Cyber Dragon Infinity, and this guy, Hope Harbinger. Like, good luck your opponent getting over those 3 things. One thing that can block monster effects, one thing that can block anything, and one thing that can block one spell. And then also, Hope Harbinger has the benefit of being able to redirect attacks back at him, so that way you can save your other shit if need be. Or if they have a monster that's weaker than 3,000, well then their monster just died because it has to go after him. And then you already talked about Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon. The only reason why I have him in here is because, I mean, I guess technically he does have that effect where he can attack, negate the other monsters on the field's effects, and then you can read the description there. I don't need to go through it. The main reason why I have him in here is to be able to activate Tachyon Transmigration in my hand during the turn that I have it, and then eventually to maybe like main phase 2, or even still in main phase 1, because I don't really care about his effect, is to just go right into the Full Armor Photon Dragon. If I have to summon Full Armor Photon, just for the ability to blow shit up, I'd rather go for Tachyon Dragon rather than Prime Photon Dragon. I actually want to attack with Prime Photon Dragon. Tachyon Dragon I usually don't give a shit about. And then you've got your Photon Lord. He's good. He's a generic level 8. That's probably the reason why he's so damn expensive, is because just about any deck can make him that's running level 8s. And he has 2 effects. One can be activated, let me think. When an opponent's monster is affected, no, not that one. During an opponent's turn, you can take 1 Photon or Galaxy card from your deck and either add it to your hand or attach it to a card as material. That's very good. During your opponent's turn, you can just like replenish your hand or materials on the field. That's very good. I like that. Now, the main reason why people use them is because you can detach a monster from underneath of him, and then you can block a monster effect, right? So it says, when an opponent's monster activates an effect, you can detach a material from this card, negate that monster's effect, and if the detached monster was a Galaxy card, then you get to destroy it in addition to negating it. And then I've already talked about Cyber Dragon Infinity and Cyber Dragon Nova to death. If you don't know what they do, you can read it. Galaxy Photon Dragon. This is one of the new guys, and this is... He's underrated to me, but a lot of people are now understanding how good he is because of how expensive he was when he came out. Other light monsters you control gain 500 attack. Every single fucking card in this extra deck is light. So that's the first benefit. You can only use each of the following effects of Galaxy Photon Dragon once per turn. You can detach 1 material from this card, either add 1 Photon or Galaxy card from your deck to your hand. That's incredibly good. That's like the Photon Lord's effect, but during your turn. Or send it to the grave. So I guess if you wanted to send Photon Emperor to the grave, that would be very nice. And then if a light monster is special summoned to your field, let's say you just sent the Photon Emperor, and now it's going to get special summoned, you can target one of those monsters. Its level becomes 4 or 8 until the end of this turn. So then you can manipulate its level as well. And then the last guy is the Soul Flare Dragon. He's okay. He's fairly inexpensive because of the fact that I almost never use him, because he's okay. He's not great. He's just okay. But he's fairly easy to summon. Almost all my guys can have 2,000 attack, so that way I can easily summon him. Galaxy Trance, remember, it can make all those monsters that that hit the field have their attack become 2,000, so it's another easy way to summon the Soul Flare. If this guy's Link summon, you can target one Photon or Galaxy monster in your grave, add it to your hand. So that's pretty good. During your opponent's main phase, you can discard one Photon card and one Galaxy card, or discard one Galaxy-sized Photon Dragon, then target one special summon monster your opponent controls, destroy it. So again, he's okay. There was one time that I had to summon it against my opponent because he sort of had me in a bind, and I used this guy. Thankfully, everything worked out. I was trying to bait him into negating stuff, and eventually I found like the right path to take in order for me to come out with the advantage, and then I was able to destroy him. But he had no idea like where he should start the negation, because he had Red Eyes Dark Dragoon on the field, and he had to make his decision. So thankfully, this guy was able to help me with a really shitty hand pull off a win. So that's pretty well it here. So let's go ahead and jump into the actual duels. Yeah, so that's one example where Galaxy Brave being able to copy the attack actually came in handy. I think this was before they had released the new Galaxy Eyes Photon cards, but in the next set of duels, that is actually... let me see real quick. I believe that is when they... Yeah, now they have released them. So I was able to like get rid of that stupid... what's his name? Photon Thrasher. I don't use him anymore in this deck because of the fact that he's no longer necessary. You've got good stuff like Galaxy Summoner instead to take his place as a level 4 substitute. Okay, yeah, so this was a really old one. This is back when I was trying to use Nebula Dragon. Nebula Dragon is no longer necessary, so I don't even bother with him. But it's just for like a proof of concept to be able to use him because he is a level 8 light dragon. So he's a trade-in target, and he's really good, except for the fact that nowadays, stuff like Galaxy Trance, which is very viable in Galaxy Photon decks, he limits you to not being able to use him anymore. So that's the reason why Nebula Dragon was good at first, but then he became obsolete. And also you can see Nebula Dragon limited me from being able to summon the Cyber Dragon Nova last turn, because you can only summon dragons. Yeah, so this was the game that I was telling you about where Soul Flare Dragon actually saved me. And yeah, as you can see, I just brought up the Neo Prime Photon. Yeah, so this is one of the main decks where I don't mind going first or second, because if you're going first, you can set yourself up fairly nicely with stuff that can block like the Photon Lord, Cyber Dragon Infinity, or the Hope Harbinger. But at the same time, going second, it's very easy to just go straight for the throat with Prime Photon or Neo Prime Photon and just completely wipe them out with the large attack. Also being able to defend, I guess, Protect on Transmigration as well, but I never count on relying on that. But it is very easy to be able to get out all the resources that you need, like the Afterglow Dragon, Prime Photon, or the Neo Prime Photon, to have like a whole bunch of attack in order to just kill them all in one fell swoop. You want to knock them out right away. And so that's pretty well it with Prime Photon Galaxies. What's next? I think it's Stardust. Oh no, it's Red Eyes and then Stardust. Yeah, so Red Eyes is probably my most effective deck yet. But I'll bring that in the next episode. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.